Hi everyone, I'm Shauna and welcome to my channel. Today's video is a follow-up to two videos I've done already. Back in August of 2020, I posted a video titled 7 Ways That the Beauty Community Promotes Overspending. I did a follow-up video a couple months back, but back in the original video, I said that I was going to talk about ways that the beauty community promotes kind of spending less, that more like intentional or conscious spending. And while it's coming a few months late, almost a year later, I'm still bringing it. And ultimately, one of the greater points I want to make now, the beauty community is not this like shitty place that's like all bad, everybody's corrupt, everybody's just trying to sell you something and promote overspending. That's not everybody. And while I think that video, those two videos were super important, and I called out behaviors that I've seen in myself and other people, I now also want to talk about some of the goodness that comes in the community and the ways that people are doing some good here. I have 10 points here that we're going to be talking about today. That's a lot. I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I hope that some of these resonate with you. And if you've thought about more, I would love to hear your thoughts and ideas about the ways that Beauty YouTube promotes kind of spending less. I'd love to hear that in the comments below. Number one is project panning. This, I think, is one of the more obvious ones, and one of the things that I love about Beauty YouTube the most. I love project panning, and one of the reasons why I love it is that at its core, project panning is about using what you already have. And if you just watch, let's say, one project pan video a month, just one from one content creator, you're at the very least seeing somebody regularly use and talk about products that they already have. You often get many reviews with the products because somebody is finishing up the product. Like, we are normalizing, or what project panning does is normalizing hitting pan and actually using up your products, which is the job of this series. You get to visually see how long it takes somebody to finish up a product. Very rarely is somebody putting a brand spanking new product in a project pan. If I'm thinking about like the year-long ones, like maybe a 10 pan or rolling project pan. So in those ones, you're rarely seeing somebody put in a brand new product. But even then, people who are putting in a half-used foundation or half-used blush, you're seeing that person finish it, which takes months and months and months and months. And this is like one of the things that people talk about the most, is how long it takes to use up your products. And even in products like the 100 uses project pan, which I have one right now, but I was inspired. The first place I saw this was on SheetGeek, where you're seeing somebody use products that are largely untouched, if not brand new, and what 100 uses look like on these products. And I can tell you from experience, it takes a long time to just do that, but then 100 uses rarely is going to finish up a product. So like, our products are here for the long term, and like they're meant to be around for a long time. And this is just like one reminder of that. And if you're somebody who watches project pans, you're reminded of that all the time. If you see that it takes a year to pan a blush, or like half a used blush, I see that, and I'm now like, oh, I have like 10 years worth of blush in my collection. I don't want to buy more. Not perfect at it, but that's one of the great things about these projects. And I think the best thing about project pans is that they often inspire others. They inspire other people to do projects, like subscribers, people who don't have channels, but also influences people who have channels to start doing these kinds of projects. And I was influenced by them. I saw my first one in like 2017, and I like project panned privately, just like myself. And I just kind of created a list of products that I was intentionally going to use. And this is like a series, or like a kind of video that's just like grown significantly over the last 3 to 5 years. More people are doing it, and I think that because there's like so many people who are doing it now, it's become like more normal to see project pans, people finishing up their products, and this like constant talk, especially someone who does projects, of like, it takes me so long to use my makeup. It really kind of forces that thinking of, I maybe need to bring in less makeup. Am I going to use this or want to pan this, have this for as long as it's going to take to use it up, which could be years. And it's kind of forcing a new conversation with our products. And part of that is being done on camera with people who are doing the projects, which I think is absolutely amazing. And I really wanted to start this video off with like something that I love. Let's talk about no buys and low buys, because that's number two, and that's a really kind of big and growing, I think, subgenre of this beauty space. And there's been an increase in these kinds of videos over the last 3 years. I found my very first no buy or low buy content back in 2018. I heard somebody say it, that they're like not shopping for a year. But I've also seen kind of early on people who are doing like a month-long no buy. I think it was Kelly Gooch was the very first person I heard talk about this, not a year-long one, but just like a month-long one or 3-month one. And that was all that I had heard until somebody said they're going on a year-long no buy. I don't remember who the first person it was who I heard that from, but it was kind of like shocked. Like I was taken aback that you're gonna not buy anything for a year. That feeling of like being surprised, or like it's dramatic, it's a lot, it's bold, it's kind of, I don't want to say excessive, I think dramatic is the right word. Not buying anything for a year, the fact that I thought that it was dramatic and like extreme is maybe the problem. I think that not buying makeup for a year is so extreme it seems unfathomable, which like kind of was a signal to me that there's like an unhealthy relationship with makeup and money, consumerism. But what this content has done is like it's opened up this kind of new world, and people who produce no buy low buy content are, I think, some of the most vocal about being like conscious or considered consumers. And so these videos, these people who are doing no buys and low buys, like at their core, they are stopping shopping and they're using what they have, which is like not buying anything is, I guess, like the most conscious you could be, the most, I don't know, like least wasteful. And we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but I want to make it clear now. I don't personally think that the healthy relationship with money, like the only healthy one, is to not buy anything. That's not it. We're going to talk about that, but these are videos that are particularly helpful and are doing some good. They are about using what you have and coupled like with not shopping. And doing it myself and often seeing other people do it, it's like this realization that you already have so much stuff that not just have you like overbought, but like you've established shitty behavior with money and goods, and practices that like need to be kind of broken down and analyzed and honestly changed. I still have skincare from before my no buy I did in 2020 that's like I'm still trying to use up now. And so these creators who produce these kinds of videos are usually also like the most vocal in providing like critical, thoughtful commentary about like how they spend, like when they're doing reflections about how people spend, the cycle of consumption, being influenced to buy things and being influenced by the beauty, like the beauty community, and like how they influence them to buy and having larger collections. These videos are coupled with that commentary, which is what makes them so powerful. They convinced me to go on a no buy because they made me realize like I resonate so much with what they're saying, and that I've built up bad habits with buying stuff, and like I'm still working on it. In a sense, the fact that these videos are so prevalent now, that they've been increasing, is, I guess, like in a way, like that's not great. The fact that these have really taken off, I think this speaks to the fact that so many of us have been so heavily influenced by the beauty space, buy all of the constant new, and what was really popular like 5 years ago were like first impressions and hauls of all kinds, and just buying, and like having these massive makeup collections where we just like declutter and then bring in new stuff. And like that was basically beauty YouTube for a while. And so I fell into the trap, like many people did, buying a lot of stuff, buying things they couldn't afford, and placing goods over people, prioritizing our possessions over like anything else. I think a lot of us felt either alone in that habit or embarrassed about that you've kind of gotten into that place, because there was a lot of silence on it. And then somebody started talking about it, and then there's a lot of people who were like, that corresponds with me too, like that resonates with me as well. And so now there's this like whole subgenre of like no buy low buy creators who are in the no buy low buy genre, or have kind of gone into the budgeting realm, we'll talk about that next, and or have kind of gone into this like critical commentary about consumerism. And so these kinds of content creators, they really promote a healthy relationship with beauty and money and our love for makeup, because they're talking about these things all together, all at once, how they relate to each other. And nobody's perfect here, and we see that kind of play out. And I think that's what makes it so great, because it's really challenging how we think about goods and money. And that's exactly what I think a lot of us need. And like, there's being really explicit about it. Third one that is related to what I just talked about, no buys and low buys, is normalizing beauty budgets and then talking about them. There's kind of, in my opinion, like two kinds of creators in this realm. There's creators who have done the no buy or the low buy and have kind of like transitioned into beauty budgets or talking about them. I'm thinking, of course, the Queen, Hannah Louise Poston, Lauren May Beauty, and then there's Sarah Jo Makeup, Laura Loves Makeup. And then there's creators like Sarah Rose who did like a no buy at the end of last year after she did like a beauty budget. And so there's people who are incorporating the beauty budget into their channel. Maybe people who have not done the no buy or the low buy previously. And so there's like this kind of growing number of people who are talking about their budget, how much money they're spending, what they're spending on, they're showcasing it, they're showcasing what they have, like what they spend, how they spent their money. And I think for a long time, even now, like in a lot of ways, talking about money is like taboo, like how much your apartment costs, or how much your house costs, or how much your groceries cost, how much you get paid. I think there's a lot of taboo around those kinds of things, and they're kind of like breaking in the beauty community, at least like it's one way. So people are talking about how much money they're spending on makeup, and then also what they got. And so I think for a lot of us, the thing that got us into trouble in the first place is not having a budget, period. Nobody was talking about this like 5 years ago. Like, I never saw one video other than like back in 2017, Kelly Gooch went on a no buy. That was kind of it, that at least I could see. There's now more people talking about money and like what they're actually buying. That's not just haul. On hauls, you might see $1,200 at Sephora. Could you afford that? Maybe, but also maybe not, but you never talked about it. Nobody talked about it like 5 years ago. And so because there's so much of this kind of content, people are like, you're seeing a wide variety of budgets, how people prioritize things, how people like are spending their money and ways that they're showcasing it. There's so many different kinds of budgets out there, and even like people who've infused like minimalism into it. Like, I'm thinking of Sarah Jo Makeup. I don't know if she went on a no buy. She's currently on like a low buy, but it's coupled with this like beauty budget where she only wants to bring in like a certain number of things. So she talks about the numbers of what she's bringing in. That's really important to her. You're seeing videos like hers, which I think is like one of the more different ones out there. Hannah Louise Poston has like this seasonal budget, and she has done budgeting the year before. like the Year of Less Stuff. Then you have like Sarah Rose, who's talking about different like she's a clothing budget and a makeup budget, talking about quarters. And so there's a lot of ways that budgeting like is being done, and that is so healthy. That is, I think, like the healthiest thing to come onto this channel, because as I've talked about, like the no buy or low buy is like an answer to a particular kind of problem, but no buys aren't feasible for long periods of time, especially because we're in this community because we love makeup. Like we want to use it and we do want to buy it. And so not spending money isn't the answer and doesn't teach us how to have healthy relationships with our stuff. Setting a budget does. And so that's why I think this is incredibly important. And I think they're so inspiring because when I see somebody else's, like every time I watch Sarah Jo Makeup's new update, I'm like, yes, girl, like you get it. And then I'm over here on my end, like, I'm not going to bring in anything this month. And there's a lot of inspiration that comes behind that, at least on my end anyways. So this, I think, is like the best number one way that the beauty space is like helping people like reconcile their, I don't want to say differences, but their desires. The desire for makeup, but also living within your means. Number 4, shop my stashes. And some of like, I'm talking about like different kind of like subgenres or like people within the subgenre, because some folks like kind of fall into many of these categories. Like they'll do a project pan and a shop my stash, which I think is kind of pretty common. But there's also quite a few people who like they're really known for shop my stash. I'm thinking like Sincerely Sarah C, and even Becca from Simply Becca. She does like a weekly makeup bag every week. That's one of her top performing videos. But like following her on Instagram and like kind of seeing her talk about her collection, like she is somebody who's like trying to be mindful. Anyways, these videos are excellent because they usually prioritize like using what you have, what you already own, and people like creators will do fun things with them. They'll have like special weeks, or like it's a Valentine's theme box, or it's a drugstore box. But just using what you have and not using new products, that's not always what's in a shop my stash. Sometimes these are the places where you'll see how somebody is using a new product that they bought. And I think that's really wonderful, because if we just see haul, 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 all we're seeing is the fact that somebody bought something. And so it's like this like drive to like buy, or you're getting the thrill of watching somebody buy something. And so even if you see somebody do a haul, it's now followed up with, this is how they're using the product. This is how they're incorporating it. And they might even do a look with it. And so there's some folks who'll do like the bi-weekly makeup bag, or people who will just like shop my stash and then create the look and like that's it. And so there's different versions of this as well. And sometimes like I'm thinking of Sarah Rose here, who will do the makeup bag and then also do the look. Sincerely Sarah C does this, and even like L'Oreal, she'll do like seasonal shop my stashes and she'll create a look out of it. So you get to see, you know, the makeup look as well. And I personally get inspired by the seasonal ones. I think I've done one for fall of 2020. And so I get inspired to use what I have, or if I see a really cool theme, like a pink theme, I want to do it too, even though I don't have those products. And so a shop my stash, like I've said, isn't just only useful because somebody is using products they already own. The thing that is also useful is how they're incorporating new products, and even seeing like, is this person using the things that they get? And sometimes like if somebody's just doing a ton of hauls and then they don't have that follow through, then it's like, do I want to support a channel that is just all they're doing is hauls? And I don't say that to like be intrusive, like, how are you using your product? Are you using your products? Are you? I saw you bought a blush, but you haven't used it yet. That's not quite what I'm saying. Not to like monitor people and how they're spending, but it's that like follow through that I think is often really important, and like can be part of the review process as well. And I think just like important for the viewer, we can really get caught up in that like haul culture. And this is like a way to combat that, or to be like, here's the haul, here's how I'm using it. I just rambled on about that 100%. What I was saying earlier is that a healthy relationship with money, like in the beauty space, isn't spending no money, because that's not actually teaching us how to be responsible or have that healthy relationship. So I think Shop My Stashes play a role in that, in the sense that it's the follow through, that here's how I'm using this thing, and then you can see like, are people actually using what they buy? And sometimes people will buy things that I've also bought, but like I'm not sure how to use it, and then you can go to that video for inspiration. Let's talk about number 5. That is anti-hauls and will I buy it. These are trendy, and they have been like really popular trending videos for a few years now. I don't really feel like they're dying. I still feel like they're pretty popular. And a lot of creators have their own series. I'm thinking like Tina from the Fancy Face has the shopping blog, Smoky Glows Yes or Pass. Samantha March's, you know, the iconic Will I Buy It. The iconic Kimberly Clark. Abby Williams does some all the time. Hannah Louise Poston. There's so many more that I could name that like have regular series or have been at one point. And some creators are much more critical than others, and I tend to watch people's who are more critical, because those are the videos that help me resist like when I want to buy something. Okay, so Teresa Is Dead, her is probably like my favorite series. She does them every 2 weeks, her new makeup nonsense bingo. And her videos are not the kind where it's 100% across the board not buying anything. You're not in for that when you're watching her videos. You're in for a lot of critical commentary, but she does buy some of the things. And I watch her series because she is so funny. Like, she is so funny, and it's like entertainment to watch those videos. And I just love her. Also hearing her roast brands. Watching her made me realize that I love these videos because I love hearing people talk about the new releases. 2 years ago, like before the no buy, if I saw a palette that I liked, I just would have bought it. I would have gone ahead and bought it. But what I realized, and I guess what I'm trying to say here, is that hearing somebody just talk about the newness, like talk about what's new in the market, what just launched, hearing somebody just talk about it, good or bad, is like enough. Like, that's all I really want, is to like talk about it, to look at it, and I don't necessarily need to buy it, most of the time not anyways. And what's I think even more important about this kind of content and why it's on this list, even if it's somebody who buys stuff or somebody who is like all 100% don't buy it, is that there are so many makeup releases, that there are channels who produce these videos once a week or like 2 times a month, like every other week. There's so many makeup releases that channels can actually depend on this being weekly or bi-weekly content. It's helped me realize not just like the speed in which the beauty industry releases new makeup, but like the quantity as well of new makeup releases. I can never remember makeup that was like mentioned in last week's episode or 2 weeks ago's episode. So it's like things are just so fast that you don't even remember what's been released like a week later, even a week later. And it's really just like demonstrating like how fleeting that want or desire often is. In my no buy, I made a list of all the things I wanted, and I made a list because I was trying to see like what would be worth buying if I had a gift card or like at the end of the year when it was all over. Majority of it, stuff that either I found or like was new at one point, I was like, yes, I want this. I just never bought it. Very few things I actually bought. So it's like watching them over time has just been helpful in helping me like reconcile with like dealing with the newness or how to deal with the product that you want. Just the entertainment and fun of hearing people talk about the new makeup releases and learning that like the fun of it was hearing about the newness and like kind of maybe even keeping up with the newness, but like that's all that I needed. And so there's a lot. I think you get the point here. I've been rambling. All right, number 6, cart declutters and shop with me. And I want you to just hold on a second for the shop with me. So I want to talk about the decluttering first. I've seen, it's like Sarah Rose, she's my favorite person who does this, but I also love like Nisi Pizza's window shop with me. Like her window shop with me is like, are just like window shops. Like you're not buying anything. So like, you know, she's not going to buy anything. Like it's kind of fun to like go with her and like roast stuff as well. But Sarah Rose's like cart declutter, I really like because she sets a budget and then she does exactly what a lot of us do like all the time. We put more than we need or we're planning to buy into our cart, and then like she whittles it down. And it's really great to see her kind of do that process and be really explicit about like her budgets and her intentions. And so it's often like not about being necessarily minimal. Like I already have a new lipstick, so I'm not going to buy this. Sometimes that's what it is, but it's like, I would really like some new makeup for spring and here's my budget for that. Or I think I remember once she did like the $1,000 fantasy cart and then actually wanted to buy some of the things that she mentioned in there a couple weeks later. So she's like, here's my budget and like this is kind of what I want. And there's just so much intentionality behind that and what she's buying, which I really love. And so she really normalizes like that process of like the budget and then the intention, which is why I think that series is so great. And there's so much just mindless spending that is showcased on the platform, and like, let's be honest, a lot of us have done that. So these kinds of videos like help counter that. A second video category is like the shop with me's, and there's a lot of creators out there like Julia Adams, Jamie Page, Michelle Wang, and like especially at Sephora time, but even throughout the year, where they'll do a shop with me. And often like their videos in particular will be like $600 at Sephora as an example. And I'm not here to judge somebody what they can afford. I don't know how much money Jamie Page makes. I don't know what her budget is. I have no idea. And that's not really what I'm here to say, is that, oh, she's spending beyond her means. No, I don't know that, and I'm not here to judge her. What I like about these videos, even though they kind of fall more into like the haul category, is that they're adding more transparency to the haul than like ever before, because you still get to see how they're spending their money and how they're making decisions. And then it's not just the end of here's what I bought. You do get to see those decisions, and hauls have not always had that kind of transparency. And like, you can see that they're spending their money and how they're doing that. Like arguably you could say, I'm not going to watch anybody who does a haul. I do, so maybe these kinds of channels are just never on your radar, but I do enjoy a haul from time to time. What I like about these videos is the transparency, and quite often, like when you're seeing somebody make a decision and they're spending, let's say $1,000, and like, I'm not picking on anybody here, like I don't have a particular creator in mind, so I'm just gonna make that clear. So somebody is doing $1,000 Sephora shop with me, or they end up spending $1,000. To see how somebody decides to spend $1,000, to me is like very illuminating. If that person is like, I heard it's new, I heard it's new, or like, oh, I heard X talk about it, I want to talk about it too, or like, I've been really wanting a new red lipstick, so I'm gonna get this red lipstick. These thought processes are, to me, just as important as like the Sarah Rose, here's my $100 or here's my $200, that's it. Because these videos tend to not have a budget, and it's kind of like spend what you want, and like the thought process honestly is not as critical. Sometimes like that's the kind of thing that you want and like you're in the mood for. But watching these two kinds of videos together are equally transparent, but like they both help me think about how I spend, how I want to spend, and then also like the kind of content I want to watch, and like the kinds of spending that like I want to watch, and like does that align with like my beliefs and like how I want to spend my money. And like, yeah, sometimes it's great to see somebody do a $600 haul so you don't have to do it, and it's like almost like cathartic in that way. Now, as an example, when I'm watching somebody who are doing like a Sephora try on, I now know how they came to buy those products, and you can make your decision based on that. I don't know if that was clear, but I do still find that valuable. Number 7 is being open about PR. And I don't mean just in the sense of like being open about the fact that somebody got PR, but there's like a whole series of videos that like I've seen maybe over the last 3 years, like would I buy this with my own money kind of thing. And I really like that style of video because sometimes getting something in PR, even if you're being open and honest, can still like affect your review, even though like you might not want to, like you may not want to be critical, what have you. Honestly saying, would I spend my money on this, my own money, that's useful information to the consumer. And being open about PR looks like a lot of different ways. Like Lauren May Beauty talks about it in like her what was sent and what was spent. So now there's just like a lot more openness about the PR and the fact that people are getting it and like what's PR and what's not. This has been the case for a little while, a few years now, and in my opinion, this is the most helpful with bigger YouTubers. When somebody is really open, like if they're doing like a full face of makeup as an example, then you can see, or they'll tell you how much of it was PR and how much was not. And so it's not as though they're spending all of their money on makeup, and a lot of it's being sent to them for free, and they're able to create a lot of content because things are sent to them for free. And like I've seen this recently with like, or I guess one of the most clear examples to me is like Alana Rama's or Alana Davison's like full face of series. Like a lot of it is often sent to her in PR, and like while she does love a lot of it and like I'm gonna trust that like she's being honest, to me knowing that like let's say 50% of her face was sent in PR takes the pressure off of me as the consumer. So if she says I love this thing, it's, I don't know, in a sense it's like she got it from PR, like I don't need it. I don't, does that correlation make sense to anybody? Because to me it's different if somebody buys something for that video and they really like it and they're like, yes, I love it, it's worth the money, versus like somebody who got the thing in PR to use it in a video. Those are kind of different things, and I really appreciate the honesty, and that's not something that's like gonna make me not watch her video or somebody else's video. And I think one of the most important things to remember about like PR is that like people's collections are so big because they got it for free. Us as regular consumers, people who aren't on YouTube, or people who maybe like me, have a small YouTube channel, I have to buy everything myself. Like nobody's gonna send me makeup. And so it's PR that often like bloats collections and makes them really big, and like promotes that decluttering mentality as well, because like there's just so much coming in, and like people's collections are so big because of PR. And I think like this isn't again like a new revelation. This has been happening over the last few years, but like kind of taking the veil off of the PR thing has really opened a lot of people's eyes that like people aren't actually spending that amount of money on makeup or as much money as you might think because they're getting it for free. You don't need to spend that kind of money. I think that in the last few years as well, these videos about like would I actually buy this with my own money has been like one of the best things to come about from PR, as well as just like the openness. Number 8 are favorite videos, especially year-end favorite videos. And there's really ways that these can become problematic, not disclosing sponsorships or taking sponsorships in favorites videos. That for me feels kind of icky. Or if somebody owns a makeup line and then uses their own products in their favorites video, that can often like not sit well. But barring those examples, hearing what somebody is loving and what they're using regularly, that's really useful information. Because if you know that like your skin type is the same as this person and they're using this foundation that they love, that like ultimately can help you buy better. And a lot of the time, like favorites videos, especially from like small creators, and I'm calling somebody a small creator if they're like under 50,000, but even like micro creators, maybe under 10,000, something has got to be really special for somebody to buy it and feature it. And either way, like even if somebody's a larger creator, to like hit pan on an eyeshadow speaks volumes when you have a huge collection. And when it comes to like spending less and being really conscious about what you're spending, hearing the good can really help make decisions or help you make good decisions. But also it's like you can flip it on its head. There's some creators who I like will never take their complexion recommendations into account because my skin is just so different from theirs. And so there's a lot of decision making that can like help you as a consumer buy better from watching what somebody loves. And I did my first favorites video ever 2 weeks ago, something like that. And you know, who it's coming from certainly matters, but like all the things I picked, I would actively in this moment go and rebuy them if I could. Or find something similar like the ColourPop thing I wouldn't buy from ColourPop. I would use that color as a reference for something else. I think a lot of people are like, what they want is they have people's best intentions in mind. Like if you need a new foundation, here's a great one. If you need a new pair of socks, here's a good option for you. And the goal isn't just go buy the new thing. The last point I want to make about favorites is that they also don't have to be like the newest thing on the block. And especially when it comes to like a year-end favorites, you're generally hearing about something that's like longer term, something that somebody's been using for several months. And for me, what I love seeing in a favorites is something that's not brand new, something that's been used for a few months, maybe even something for a year as an example, or a couple of years, and they're like re-mentioning it again. That's really useful, and like you can see it's long-term use, and it's not just like because it's new it's a favorite. And that's why I think year-end favorites are some of the best out there. Number 9 is very similar, which is ranking and worst of videos. I love I love a good ranking video, and also like being a little sassy about some really bad products. Samantha March just released one recently talking about like the worst makeup of 2021 so far. Some people really roast, really go in, and like I love that because that also helps you avoid making shitty decisions, especially if you know like the creator's preferences and like how they relate to yours. And so in those videos, like if it's ranking or if it's worst of, like you're getting mini reviews helpful, and it can help you make a decision about like what you love and or like what could be good for you. That's like the whole point of it. And one of the things that I guess I like the best, particularly about ranking videos, is that like you can see somebody like they're interacting with like their whole collection, like their scope of their collection. And you don't always get to see that. Even in like a Shop My Stash, you're only looking at like a small curated amount, or a haul, it's the same thing, a small curated amount. Project Pan, that small curated amount. And now you're seeing what they own in their entirety, their breadth, and then hearing them talk about everything. The reviews are good, but then often like you'll get, I wouldn't buy this, or this is like the tail end of my collection, like this is okay, this is not good. And when it comes to makeup, I find that we hear a lot of the good and the bad, but not a lot of the middle. And that's what these kind of ranking videos are great for, is like hearing that breadth, the good, the bad, and a lot of us, or at least I shouldn't speak for everybody, my intention is to only own things that I love. And I currently own things that I don't love. And that's the case with a lot of people too. And so there's like some trying involved. And a lot of us have bought to try, or just trying for the sake of trying. And like you can hear that play out when somebody's making your ranking. And that's like really good information to know. Number 10, the finale here, is empties. And I left this for last because these are just like quintessential beauty YouTube. They've been around for what feels like forever. They've been around for a long time, I feel like for a good reason, because you get to hear a review from somebody who's actually finished a product. And if there are people that like you've come to know, then like you come to see like what they use regularly, and then also like what and if you come to know their preferences, then again it's just like it's more reviews and like more content for to help you make decisions. But there's also creators out there like Christina Chang and LS who've done the like reverse ruse where they're trying to use up like $1,000 worth of empties. What I love about empties, and I don't think it's ever like a bad thing to even reiterate things that we already know, is that it takes somebody so long to go through their products. And so you can see how, or some things that's not the case. Some things people like will fly through, like cleansers as an example. So you can see like how much money people are spending on their goods and how often they're using something, like how long it takes them to use a product. You generally get that information in an empties video. And it's just ultimately more transparency about how people spend their money. And what's pretty clear from empties videos, even doing it myself, is how much trash we accumulate. Like not just in packaging, like how many goods we go through a year. And it's shocking. Like when I did my year in empties, it was shocking. I think maybe it was a little bloated because I had a ton of samples that I was getting through, but we accumulate a lot of stuff and we go through a lot of stuff. And what's also particularly, I feel like poignant about these videos is that they're often mostly comprised of skincare, and makeup tends to appear like the least frequent in these videos. So it's just another reminder for me personally how slow it takes to use up makeup and like how actual little makeup we use in a year. And we're mostly going through skincare and hair care. Or maybe you'll see toothpaste or mouthwash or detergent or whatever kind of thing that a person wants to showcase to you. And it takes us a long time to use up makeup, and that becomes really clear in empties videos as well. And in empties videos, that's like the time where I'm the most, I guess, I don't want to say vulnerable, but I'm the most aware of the packaging of my products. Or yeah, I think I'm more aware when I'm doing the video, how is this product packaged? And it's a time for me to reflect on my own products. How much did I spend on skincare? How much did I spend on makeup? How is this packaged? Could I get this in another way? And there's good reflection being done by many of the creators, certainly not everybody, about would they repurchase it? Is it worth the money? Could it be packaged better? Is there an alternative that you could use instead? And the critical commentary is what's ultimately like the best thing about empties videos. Wow, that was a long one. Let me know your thoughts in the comments about anything that I said and anything you would add about how beauty YouTube helps us spend more consciously. Thank you so much for watching. I'm really glad you were able to join me for this video today, and I really hope to see you again around here soon. Bye.